Hey there, and welcome to the Emotionally Intelligent Parenting Podcast. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge the Darug Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I live, work, and record this podcast. I pay my respects to all First Nations people, elders, and ancestors, and I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and stand in solidarity towards a shared future. So today, this episode is actually going to be something that came from my Facebook community. It was a post that I put up probably about a week ago, if that, and all I had written in the post was, what do you wish you heard more from your parents growing up? So that post blew up. People had so many thoughts and so many feelings about it. There were so many responses. I've sifted through them. I loved reading them. There were so many hearts and so many emojis that went on that because people really had something to say about what they wish their parents had done or said more to them as they were kids. And even if you feel like, I don't know, a lot of people feel like they don't remember much of their childhood. I don't know if that's you or, but I really think that there are certain things that we either remember our parents did a lot of, or we kind of can't remember them ever doing or saying. So anyway, this post fascinated me, and I love asking little questions and putting little quotes and things like that in the Facebook community. If you're not in there, by the way, it's called Let's Raise Emotionally Intelligent Kids, and it's in Facebook, so go in there and join. And you might actually see that post. You'll see it. It's still up there now, probably. And so I wanted to go through some of the responses because it would mean so much to your kids if you started to just be a bit more mindful with, I think, your language and what you say to them and how often you say it. You know, it's kind of being a bit more intentional and conscious about how we interact with our kids. Like, this is something that I need to remember doing myself because life can be so busy, work can be so busy, and we kind of get on autopilot. So, and that can be not good sometimes. So anyway, I wanted to read some of these comments out to you guys. I want you to kind of think as I'm talking, which ones hit home for you, because I think it's really powerful to kind of reflect back, what would I have liked to have heard, or what didn't I hear as much, and how is that sitting with me now? Like, how is that affecting me now? Because this stuff doesn't leave us. It kind of, every experience we have, every interaction, even if we don't remember it, bit by bit, it's almost like an invisible brick that kind of builds our, our way of being and our personality and things like that. So it might not sound very important, but I think it accounts for a lot. So let me read out some of these comments, and I want to kind of get your brain ticking a little bit as we go. So the question was, what do you wish you heard more of from your parents growing up? And I've kind of picked out some of the real common themes and some of the common comments, I guess. So first up is, are you okay instead of you're okay? So just think about how different those little phrases are. Are you okay instead of you're okay? I know we talk about sometimes being dismissive as parents and not really thinking too much about what's really going on with our kids. We see their experience as, it's not a big deal. It doesn't need to be made a big issue out of, and things like that. You don't need to cry so much. It doesn't hurt that much, and you're fine. It was an accident. He didn't mean it. Blah, blah, blah. So that's a big change. Are you okay instead of you're okay? Next one is, you are not responsible for my emotions. Ooh, that's a big one. And the same parent also said, it's okay to cry and to feel things deeply. So she would have liked to have heard that more. You're not responsible for my emotions, as in the parent saying that, and it's okay to cry and feel things deeply. Another one is, it's okay to make mistakes. I'll help your learning with how the world works. So it's okay to make mistakes. And I love that second part, I'm going to help you with your learning about how the world works. That's what our kids are here to do. They're here to explore and learn and discover, make mistakes, mess up. And it's okay to do that. I think a lot of us now in this day and age, maybe it's just the circles I'm in and what I see being posted and things, we're getting really into that space of allowing and honoring mistakes and sometimes even celebrating them. So they're not a bad thing. Another parent had written, I'm sorry. So she wanted to hear more of I'm sorry without making me the scapegoat. That they were proud of who I am and my accomplishments, and not my accomplishments, or that I need to accomplish more. Just to look at me and say they were so happy to have me as their daughter. I tell my daughter these things constantly because this is what I needed to hear and never did. So that's a really good point. What did you never hear, and what now can you pass on to your kids, the things that you missed out on? I know our kids I'm not saying that they're carbon copies of us, but being more conscious and aware and intentional with what we say and how often we say it, I think that's really huge. I like that part. I'm sorry without making me the scapegoat. Yeah, sometimes we do that. Okay, so another parent said she would have liked to hear her parent saying, I could have handled that differently and I'm sorry. Wow. So taking that ownership and that accountability as a parent, I feel like that was pretty rare back then. And it's hard now. It's really hard to apologize to kids and say, you know what, I stuffed up, or I shouldn't have yelled, or I should have handled that differently. Whoa, it's hard. It's tough, right? She also said, I care what you think and you matter. And this parent said, my mum would constantly tell me what I think doesn't count and that no one cares what you think. And I've carried that in my mind ever since. And I do not want to give that version to my children. Wow. So that's really powerful. Another parent said she would have liked to have heard, I am not going anywhere. So sometimes our kids get in their mind these, they draw conclusions in error about what we say and what we do in our behavior and about what happens. Remember, they have a very under construction brain, a very underdeveloped, particularly that frontal lobe that really gives them the capacity to make realizations and understand things about our world and the people in it. So I love that she said, I'm not going anywhere. Like a parent may never have even uttered those words, I'm going to leave you here, or, keep going like that and you'll be on your own. Sometimes parents do, but sometimes parents we don't say things explicitly, and yet our kids pick up on that message. So we need to be more clear, I think, with our language. Another parent said, I'm sorry and I'm proud of you and I'm here to listen when you want to talk. Like, think how mature that language is. Clear, honest communication. A lot of us struggle with that, right? Another parent said, I'm sorry and I'm here for you. What is going on? And let's work it out together. I love you no matter what. I hope you guys are taking deep breaths with me. I am. It makes me think about my kids. What do I not say to them? And what do I think they know? What do I assume that they believe? Maybe they don't. Maybe I just need to say it, even if I think it's weird or I think they already know. Another parent said she wished that her parents would have said that their love for her and her siblings was never in doubt. I actually say to both of my kids quite often, there's nothing that you can do that will make me and Daddy love you any less. Like nothing at all. Even when they make mistakes or really mess up or really hurt one another or lash out, there's nothing. I might not be happy with what you do and it might not be okay, but there's nothing that you can do that will ever make me love you any less. I love that. And I think that's a really powerful, simple thing to say. I'm proud of you was from another parent. You don't need to worry about anything. We've got it all figured out. Everything is under control. The bills are all paid, and we have a savings account for you to help with college, so you don't desperately need to jump into marrying someone for the sake of stability. I see you and your feelings are valid. You can set plans and achieve them. Whew. That was from one mum. How powerful is that? You don't need to worry about anything. We've got it all figured out. Like, you can be the child, we'll be the parents. You let us handle all those worries. Oh, my heart. So, guess what the two most commented responses were. This is really interesting. I wonder if you can have a think about. I'm going to let you guys know them in a sec, but from all those comments, and there's more. I picked out kind of most of the big ones or the common ones. But think about your own childhood and reflect back. What do you wish that your parents had said more? And are you doing that? Like, are you communicating those to your kids? So the two most popular, I want to say, or the two most commented, the ones that showed up the most were, first one is, I'm sorry. And the second one is, I believe you. Isn't that crazy? I believe you. I wasn't so surprised by the I'm sorry, because I know that, very generally speaking, parents of our parents' kind of era were not, it wasn't common for parents to kind of admit fault, admit that they messed up or didn't have it all figured out or all together, weren't perfect. And the apology, like, that can it feels really yucky. It can feel shameful, or it brings some guilt, like, oh, I said or did what I didn't want to and I shouldn't have. I don't know if you're like me, but a lot of the kind of stuff that happened and things was often like swept under the rug or just ignored, or we just got on with it. I heard someone the other day say the parent saying sorry was like, are you hungry? Do you want some food? Or I've cleaned your room, or I've got that thing ready for you. So almost like an apology that is not actually a verbal I'm sorry and I take accountability. Anyway, so I'm sorry, that was one of the big ones, and the other was I believe you. So why do so many of us have wanted to heard from our parents that they believed us? And that just makes me think, because very often we dismiss and invalidate our kids' feelings and what they say. We think it's not a big deal. They're making a mountain out of a molehill. They're being dramatic. We don't enough say to our kids, you know what, I get it, and how you're feeling is valid, and I believe you, and tell me more. I want to understand. Sometimes we don't have time. We think we don't have time. We think it's not a big deal, and we have bigger fish to fry, more things going on. It doesn't matter if you can't find that toy, just get in the car. Who cares if she took the last one, go and get something else to eat. We don't often say, I believe how you're feeling and it's important. I want to hear about it and let's work this through together. So these are some of the things that potentially your child or children want to hear more from you. I think it's a really powerful discussion to have and something really important to think about. Like I said, these comments came from my Facebook community this week. I've obviously kept them all anonymous, people's identity I want to protect, but it is a public group. You can go on there and, you'll find the post. It's really interesting to look through. And I think if we are thinking these now, then guess what? Your kids are going to be thinking them either consciously, they're going to be thinking, I wish mom or dad did this or didn't do that. But in years to come, we know that they're still going to have memories. And are we doing, the best we can? Are we doing as much as we can to let our kids know we love them, we trust them, we believe them, we're here for them, what they say and think matters, and that they matter? So why not just say it to them? Sometimes it's going to sound silly to us. We might feel awkward, and I totally get that. And I think that kind of comes from just the fact that, like, we didn't get this, a lot of us didn't get this as kids. So it feels weird. It feels a bit foreign. So I kind of want you to push through that. Just say it. It's only sounding silly or weird or a bit over the top to you. Your child will lap it up. They will love it. It will be like gold. It's speaking their language, right? So I want you to kind of think about picking one thing, maybe one of these things today that you heard me say, or something that you wish you heard a lot more of. And I know sometimes we think, well, if I didn't get this growing up, why should you? Well, we're here to break the cycles, right? We're here to go, you know what, I want to do some things a little bit differently. I want to do things in our way. I know what I missed or what didn't work for me, and I'm going to do what I can to change some of those habits. So maybe imagine if your child is, 20 or 30, what would you like them to say when you ask them, what do you always remember me saying? Or what do you remember a lot about your childhood? What do you remember a lot of? I think those are some really interesting questions to ask. So thank you for being with me in this episode. I think that was really interesting. I think it's so good to hear from other parents literally across the globe with their experience. I think everyone's shared experience is valid, and I think we cannot and should not ever argue with someone else's experience or the way they experienced their childhood. Like I said, our kids are not carbon copies of us, so we can't, we're not going to just replicate how we were raised, but I think it provides us with some really good insight to look into, so what am I doing differently, and how am I showing up in ways that maybe I would have liked my parents to? We are all doing the best we can with the knowledge we have for the times that we're in. Luckily, we know a lot more now about child development, neuroscience, psychology, and we have a lot more access to research. Well, we have access to research that we didn't back then, that our parents did not. So I guess maybe I'll leave you with, be gentle with yourself, but also with kind of memories of your childhood and your parents or caregivers, because the world is changing at such a fast rate. And I know there are things that when my kids are that old, when my two kids are in their 20s and 30s, I'm sure they'll be like, we wish you didn't do that, or you never did this, or you always said that. And I'm going to think, oh my God, I thought I was like nailing it. And I wasn't. But I'm doing the best I can. And we're all trying. So anyway, be gentle with yourself. Thank you for listening. I'm so grateful that you're allowing me to kind of have my voice in your ears and maybe just change some of your parenting habits. Yeah, and I hope it makes a difference. So if you have liked this episode, if you've listened to any others, I want to say a huge thank you. And I would love if you could give the podcast a rating, maybe put a comment about what you love about it. So that really helps to reach more parents. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, so if you love this stuff that I've been talking about on the podcast, I would encourage you to go and check out just a couple of my really short, low-cost online courses on my website. I've got about 5 or so at the moment, and I'm adding to them. The first one is actually free. It's called Introduction to Raising Emotionally Intelligent Kids, so you can jump on straight away, get access to that course, complete it in your own time. I love that one. That is so cool. One of my other favorites is called Decoding and Diffusing Your Child's Challenging Behavior. So this is about understanding the nervous system and the developing brain, and why our kids sometimes seemingly go into fight or flight when we ask them to turn the iPad off and come for dinner. So that's a really cool 1-hour masterclass. I would encourage you to check that one out as well. There's also ones on supporting anxious and sensitive kids. There is another favorite called Help, I'm a Shouty Parent. That's a 7-module course, but you could smash it out probably in an hour and a half. That's really cool. And then the last or the latest one is EFT tapping. That's emotional freedom techniques tapping. It's around how to deal with our own big emotions, frustration, anger, and things like that, as a part of obviously being a parent. So I would encourage you guys to go and check them out. They're just at stephaniepinto.com/courses. So go and check that out. I'll put that link somewhere down in the show notes so you can check it out, and let me know what you think. I'd love you guys to give one a go. All right, have a great day.